And we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Tuesday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini, and today we are back talking about everybody's favorite topic right now, which is the Steelers quarterback situation. For the most part, we got a lot of things to get into here, including a Steelers quarterback update. Why hasn't Darius Slay yet signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Three more Steelers have signed elsewhere within the past, I'd say, 12 to 18 hours. And now Pittsburgh Penguins getting hit with injuries. And are the Pittsburgh Pirates actually good? Had a pretty damn good performance today against the New York Yankees. Gonna see if how many more people file in here. Just started this up, so give people a few moments to climb in here. We'll start with the Steelers quarterback update here in a minute. Okay, we're going to get started here. Hopefully, people can come in as we continue along. Let's start with a quarterback update with the Pittsburgh Steelers. As most of you may know, Justin Fields signed yesterday 2 years with the New York Jets. And Sam Darnold signed 3 years with the Seattle Seahawks, and a most recent one earlier today of quarterbacks who are actual legit candidates for the Pittsburgh Steelers starting job. Daniel Jones signing a 1-year, $14 million contract with the Indianapolis Colts. He is going to be in competition now with Anthony Richardson, who, of course, was a first-round pick by the Colts a few years ago. And looking at all the reports, what all the insiders are saying here today, it appears right now that for both the options of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, it is down to two teams right now. That is your Pittsburgh Steelers, and that is the New York Giants as well. And right now, my current reading of the situation is that both the Giants and the Steelers, they want Rodgers. We are still waiting for a decision. Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show today said that a decision could come tonight, but we'll see. I'll explain why it will, at the earliest, probably come tomorrow here in a little bit. So another thing that Adam Schefter said, well, first off, both teams right now, they want Rodgers, and the market for Rodgers and Wilson both are pretty much down to the Giants and Steelers. And from reading the tea leaves around the league, it is the Steelers and Giants who both want Aaron Rodgers first and foremost. And my view of the situation is that whichever team, whether it be the Giants or the Steelers, whichever one of those two lands Rodgers, it is pretty much guaranteed that it will be Russell Wilson going back to the other team. So if the Giants sign Rodgers, Russ will come back. Steelers will have their, tails tucked between their legs here saying, oh, so we're sorry, Russ, that we tried to, sign Justin. We made an offer to Sam Darnold. We wanted Rodgers over you. Steelers have reached out to both. There's a contract in place for Rodgers from at least what I am hearing. But the more and more that this goes on, if the Steelers aren't going to get Rodgers, you've seen Daniel Jones go off the board today. Another guy who I wouldn't consider him being a starting option for the Steelers, Jacoby Brissett. I think he just signed in Arizona with the Cardinals, if I'm correct. Let me check here. Yes, that is a backup deal So he'll be back up to Kyler Murray out in Arizona right now. Will be Jacoby Brissett. Here's a couple of quotes here from Adam Schefter. Right now, Aaron Rodgers is focused in on Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants, and that the Steelers are waiting for an answer on Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson is waiting as well on an answer from Aaron Rodgers. So it's pretty much Rodgers as the belle of the ball right now, and the losing team in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes here, they're going to get a consolation prize in Russell Wilson. And this is just part here of how these two performed last year. Mike DeFabo, who covers the Steelers for The Athletic, posted this. If you want to compare Rodgers and Wilson over this past season, looking at Rodgers Wilson versus Rodgers, passer rating, Russell Wilson beats Rodgers out 95.6 to 90.5. Yards per attempt, Russ also beating out Rodgers 7.4 to 6.7. Total QBR, both pretty ugly for the two of them. Russ beating out Rodgers, though, there as well, 51.3 to 48.0. Touchdowns per interception, Russell Wilson at a 3.2, Aaron Rodgers at a 2.5. Age, of course, we know Russ 5 years younger right now than Rodgers at 36 compared to Rodgers at 41. Completions of 20 yards or more per game. Russ right now, we all know he has that great deep ball, beating out Rodgers there, 3.64 to an even 3 for Russ, or for Rodgers, I should say. So far, Russ clean sweeping. Now here's where Rodgers comes back into the fold. Passing yards per game. Rodgers has Russ narrowly edged out by 4 yards, 229 to 225. Completion percentage, Russ just barely by a hair more than Rodgers at 63.7 to 63. Touchdowns per game, Rodgers beating out Russ in touchdowns per game, 1.65 to 1.45. Sack percentage per game, Rodgers still at the age of 41, taking less sacks, getting the ball out on time. I think that's more him being an efficient passer and feeling the pressure rather than, using his legs to keep the play alive. He's only taking sacks 6.4% of the time compared to Wilson's 8.9. Of course, we all know Russ, I think in his mind at this stage in his career, he still thinks in his mind that he can do all the things that he could have when, he was back in his Seattle days, but I don't think his body is keeping up with him right now. And then this last statistic here I have, interceptions per game. Of course, Russ 0.45 there, and Rodgers 0.65. And I think that's more of, Rodgers needing to do a whole bunch with a subpar offensive line up in New York. Of course, we knew for years that Rodgers was one of the more premier passers in the league in terms of protecting the ball, but that wasn't such the case last year in 2024. Looking more here, let me back out of this. So we covered Rodgers and Wilson. It's pretty much down to those two. If I had to guess right now, my gut tells me it's going to be Rodgers because we all know that he has high praise of Mike Tomlin, and that feeling is mutual between the two. And I think that if you're Rodgers, looking at what the Jets are offering and what the Steelers are offering, you're going to go with the Steelers every single time. I think the only thing going for the Giants right now and their possibility of getting Rodgers is that Rodgers doesn't have to move. He's going from the Jets to the Giants. He won't need to find a place here in Pittsburgh. I do think that the Steelers are going to make a better offer to Rodgers on top of having, better weapons. You would maybe think better offensive line, that's debatable. Same thing goes for the defense. I think a better defense. The Steelers by a narrow margin there. And of course, Steelers are right now having the better head coach with Aaron Glenn still pretty unproven as an NFL head coach. So, in going back to what the deal is for Rodgers, I do not believe I'm starting to lighten up on the possibility of Aaron Rodgers becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think he's still got that fire, that competitiveness in him to where he can come here and make the most of the weapons around him in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. And hopefully, him having, such high praise for Mike Tomlin, he's going to respect Tomlin and leave, off-field distractions, limit those as much as possible. But I think if Rodgers were to come here, I could maybe live with that right now. And maybe I could live with it a little bit more if the Steelers, you'll have the dream of the Steelers taking their franchise quarterback when it's a stronger draft class and the draft is in Pittsburgh here in 2026. But if you can get maybe a Shedeur Sanders, he falls, into the teens, Steelers trade up, get Shedeur Sanders. Maybe they take Jackson Dart. I'm not entirely sold on spending a first-round pick on Dart. I think Jackson Dart, in my opinion, he's one of those quarterbacks who is, not good enough to be a first-round pick, but he's going to be gone immediately in the second round, and the Steelers don't have a second-round pick anymore, trading it for DK Metcalf. So, maybe Rodgers still got something left in him, like the old Ben Roethlisberger quote, this Cowboy still got a couple more throws left in him. I mean, if we're being honest here, I'd probably take Ben at this point over Rodgers and Wilson, but we'll see. But there's another thing here. There's another option that I want to get to here. This came out 2 hours ago. Apparently, according to Dejan Kovacic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, the Steelers have reached out to Mason Rudolph. Of course, everybody loves Mason Rudolph. He got a rough shake here in Pittsburgh, being stuck behind, Ben in the twilight of his career, then being stuck behind Mitch Trubisky, who was a free agent signing, and then Kenny Pickett, who was the first-round pick and was going to get, a bunch of opportunities. Rudolph, had a pretty good end of the season with the Steelers 2 years ago. And after spending the year most part as a split starter with Will Levis down in Tennessee, could a reunion come back to Pittsburgh? You never know. Maybe that type of thing could happen even if the Steelers do sign a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. What if Rudolph does see the writing on the wall and say, you know what, I had a good ending here in Pittsburgh. I'm going to be a backup for the rest of my career, and I think I can make a killing, make a couple bucks and really extend out my career as a backup quarterback. And I know I'm going back to a place, an organization that I know that I'm left on good terms, at least with the fans with. So Mason Rudolph, I'm not shocked if the Steelers actually did reach out to Rudolph, and I'm not going to deny Dejan Kovacic's report here, because for those of you who do know, Kovacic, he has a semi-daily talk show, kind of like what I'm doing here, with former Steelers offensive guard Ramon Foster. And for those of you who know Moan, he, while doing that show with DK, also works with the Tennessee Titans organization where Rudolph just was. So besides, Foster formerly, protecting Rudolph when he was still playing as an offensive guard for the Steelers, and having, Mason's number plugged into his phone, he also worked with the Tennessee Titans organization, and I'm sure was kept in close touch with Rudolph then as well. So I think if DK's hearing that, he could, be in talk with Rudolph and Rudolph's agent directly, or he has a back channel way of talking with Rudolph through Ramon Foster as well. So you never know what could happen. And sort of segueing this into my next segment, going back to the whole why haven't we gotten an update on Rodgers quite yet, is because Rodgers technically is not a free agent yet. And that will become official tomorrow. I think at around 4 p.m. is when players can officially be released by teams and it be counted as a post June 1 release. So expect news on this to come up tomorrow. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. is when Rodgers will officially be able to put pen to paper, and maybe, leading up between now and then, we hear that a deal has been done, but it cannot officially be signed until tomorrow, at least at 4 p.m. And that also takes me into this right here, which is why hasn't Darius Slay been official by the Pittsburgh Steelers? Darius Slay, Eagles corner, was reported to get cut and released, and apparently signed a 1-year deal. I think it was Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette who said it was a 1-year deal yesterday, but we haven't heard any, official deal getting done by one of the big insiders like an Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and so on and so forth. And we haven't heard a number yet as to what that deal may be salary-wise. And the reason why it's the same as Rodgers is that you have to wait till tomorrow till he officially can be released. But from what, a couple people are saying is that Howie Roseman, the GM for the Philadelphia Eagles, he likes Slay. He doesn't want to, necessarily get rid of him. It's just that Slay is pretty much getting pushed out by two phenomenal rookies in Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. So Slay coming to Pittsburgh isn't, a signed, sealed, delivered, done deal. And now you have to tell the Steelers, if you're the Steelers, you have to look at your other options. You've seen top corners, DJ Reed, Nate Hobbs, Byron Murphy, those types of guys who are the cream of the crop in this free agent class already go off the boards, but there's still some good names left on there. You still got Asante Samuel from the Los Angeles Chargers. Let me look up here some free agent corners that are still left on the market. Let me go back here and find it. Give me 1 second, guys. Free agents. Okay, Spotrac isn't working. Let me find another way to find this. Okay, let's go to PFF here. So looking at free agent corners still out there, like I said, DJ Reed got signed. Charvarius Ward also got scooped up. Rasul Douglas, I think he's available right now. Buffalo Bills, formerly of the Green Bay Packers as well. Byron Murphy is gone. Carlton Davis gone. Asante Samuel, like I said, available. Mike Hilton available, though he's a slot anymore. And I think the Steelers are going to stick with what they've seen from Beanie Bishop. And then you're getting into some of the, less glamorous options here. Stephon Gilmore, who's past his prime. Same thing with Jonathan Jones in the New England Patriots. Paulson Adebo, he got scooped up. Christian Fulton, scooped up, gone. Isaiah Rodgers, gone. So pretty much you're down to, if this Darius Slay deal does not get done, you're looking at guys like Asante Samuel. And another guy I want to throw out there is Jair Alexander. He would probably be, at the top of my list out of Slay, Samuels, or Asante Samuel, and Jair Alexander. We've watched from afar for a couple of years now, a relationship between Alexander and the Packers, crack, and I think they're looking to offload him, whether that be a trade or more likely just like Darius Slay here, going to be a cut. So I think if the Steelers, if they are so certain that Slay is going to get cut, then by all means sign him. But if there is even a sliver of doubt that Slay is going to either be kept in Philadelphia or go elsewhere when he officially becomes a free agent, then they cannot wait around. They need to go after Jair Alexander or sign Asante Samuel immediately. Moving on here to another segment. Since we last spoke here last night, 3 more Steelers have signed elsewhere in free agency. Let's start with the big one, the one that everybody by now knows. That is running back Najee Harris, who I am repping one last time here until, maybe another 22 running back can, take this number. Hint, hint, Ashton Genty, not so bad of a first round pick for the Steelers that's looking right now. But as we know, Najee Harris gone. He is predictably, like I've been saying, I thought he was going to go back to the West Coast. I thought the Raiders were going to be a team that he was going to sign with. But it turns out he's still going back to the West Coast, but he is going with the Los Angeles Chargers and Harbaugh out there. It is a 1-year deal worth up to $9.25 million for Najee. I think that a little under half of that is performance-based incentives, I think, for rushing yards. So the Chargers get the Steelers' former first-round pick, and just looking at now the history of Steelers first-rounders in recent memory, and this is all the ending of former Steelers GM Kevin Colbert's tenure, and you're going to cringe when you hear some of these names. 2018, Terrell Edmunds, safety, 5 years in Pittsburgh, had his 5th-year option decline. He came back to Pittsburgh for, a spell last year, but, his days in the NFL are probably done. So he was overdrafted at the time, and as you predictably thought, short NFL career, and things did not work out here in Pittsburgh. He did not become, that number one defensive end or defensive back that everybody was expecting him to be. Go the next year, then 2019, linebacker Devin Bush. Of course, everybody remembers Steelers making a big trade up. I believe it was to pick 10 to take Devin Bush. He only spent 4 years in Pittsburgh, had his 5th-year option declined as well. And I'd say for the first, year and a half of his career, that actually looked like a solid pick. He showed good mobility, good tackling, and unfortunately, it was when he tore his ACL and had that season-ending injury that, things just weren't the same for him. He just turned out to be a shell of himself. He went up to Seattle, signed there, and then he was last year with the Browns. Not sure if he's still a free agent or not, but you're most looking at his NFL career on life support as well. Fast forward here, Steelers did not have a first-round pick in 2020. That was actually their best use of a first-round pick in recent memory. That was when they traded their first-rounder to the Miami Dolphins to bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And since then, Fitzpatrick has turned out to be a pretty good safety, except for, this past year having some issues getting turnovers for Minkah. But so far, if you're looking at his overall tender, especially when he first became a Steeler, a very well use of that first-round pick. And now moving here to 2021, Najee Harris, 4 years in Pittsburgh, 5th-year option declined. Steelers were probably going, if Najee wasn't going to get an offer like that from the Chargers, I would have said that there's still a chance that he could be back in Pittsburgh. One guy who is bummed out that Najee left, tight end Pat Freiermuth. Of course, we all know that they were very good buddies But now Najee heading back to, California, going to the Chargers on a 1-year deal. I think he could perform very well there. I mean, Najee definitely did not live up to the hype of a first-round draft pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but let's not act like he, for most of his tenure, dealt with Matt Canada as coordinator, had a rebuilding O-line that, is by all means still not a finished project to this day. And, I can go on and on. And I think his physical style of play is going to gel well with Harbaugh out there in Los Angeles. Another Steeler who went off the market last night. Of course, we kind of saw this coming when the Steelers signed Ravens linebacker Malik Harrison to a 2-year deal. That was Landon Roberts. The door was shut on his return to Pittsburgh, and he ends up signing a 3-year deal, a $3 million 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. So he's going to go out there, kind of like the Steelers, to an organization that prides itself on physical, punch you in the mouth defense. Hopefully, E-Rob kills it out there. I really, really wanted the Steelers to bring him back. I mean, you hope that Malik Harrison for 2 years at $10 million can be a Landon Roberts and then some for the Steelers. But 1 year, $3 million, I would have, done that in a heartbeat. And you then would have had probably one of the best foursomes of middle linebackers in the NFL with Patrick Queen, Cole Holcomb, Peyton Wilson, and Landon Roberts. But now you sub out Roberts, you put Malik Harrison in there, and of course he, has a relationship with Landon Roberts going back to both of their days as Baltimore Ravens. And the last Steelers free agent to sign a deal yesterday, and I'm kind of shocked at the length of this contract. That is Steelers right guard James Daniels getting scooped up by the Miami Dolphins on a 3-year, $24 million contract. Of course, we know Daniels. He was pretty good, fairly good here for his time in Pittsburgh, but we all saw that Achilles injury that ended his year last year, 2 games into the season against the Denver Broncos. And coming off an Achilles injury, I'm shocked that the Dolphins signed him to that much money and that long of a term. But that wasn't a deal anyways that the Steelers were going to make. So best of luck to you, James Daniels, and really best of luck to everyone, Najee, Roberts, and Daniels. I have no ill will for any one of them, and I hope that they find success wherever they go next. And honestly, them leaving, it's not like the Steelers are going to be losing, losing everything and gaining nothing here. So let's look at this here. And this is the compensatory pick tracking now. So far in free agency, the Steelers have lost Najee Harris, Justin Fields, Dan Moore Jr., Dante Jackson, James Daniels, and they also cut Larry Ogunjobi. And as Mark Caboli here from the Pat McAfee Show points out, that is 27%, over a fourth of the Steelers' opening day starters last year have now gone in free agency. But like I just said, not all has been lost. The Steelers are going to be getting some compensatory picks. As of right now, for the deal that Dan Moore Jr. signed, they're due to get a 3rd round compensatory pick in 2026. These are all in 2026 with the draft next year in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields, the 2-year, $40 million deal he signed, he's going to garner the Steelers a 4th round compensation pick. Najee Harris, 1 year, $9.5 million. He's going to get the Steelers a 5th round compensatory pick. And then James Daniels and Dante Jackson, those 2 players each fetch a 6th round compensatory pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Excuse me. So the Steelers, you lose some good starters there, but at least, you get something back. And excuse me here while I take a drink. So, yeah, Steelers getting compensatory picks. And also another, I guess you can still count him as a former Steeler. Once a Steeler, always a Steeler, is that former defensive tackle Javon Hargrave. He signed this morning with the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, I've been vocal on here saying I would love to have Hargrave back on the Steelers. He was one of those Steelers that, really shouldn't have left. Kind of like Mike Hilton. Both of those players made their exits at around the same time. At that time when, Hargrave was due a contract with the Steelers really had to make a choice between Javon Hargrave and Stephon Tuitt at the time. They went with Tuitt, which, hindsight's 2020 at that time was probably the right decision. But then Tuitt, of course, only played a little bit longer after that and had to retire with injuries. So Hargrave went to the Vikings. Also, another guy who I wanted the Steelers to take a look at, this free agent, Jonathan Allen. He also went to the Vikings this morning. Minnesota spent big time money earlier today. And honestly, the way the Steelers are approaching free agency, I don't think it was anything that they were going to match or even, come close to giving. 16 of you in here right now. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Also, feel free to like and share this stream and comment in the live chat. Just like James here. Welcome, James. I believe this is my first time seeing your name on here. Thanks for commenting. What about a trade for Joe Milton? I would love Joe Milton. If you could part ways with a 6th, 2nd, or 7th round pick, 5th round pick. Now, I think the New England Patriots value him much more than something like that. So you're probably looking at giving around a 5th at least, or a 5th at, the bottom of the barrel. And maybe you're looking at a 4th round pick. I'm not sure if the Steelers are going to be, doing that. They value their draft picks a whole lot. I believe Omar Khan values those picks a bunch. And, I bet it wasn't really a conversation. It was a no-brainer to part with a 2nd round pick to get DK Metcalf. But, Joe Milton, I would love Joe Milton, but I would love Joe Milton in the fact that Steelers owner Art Rooney said this offseason that he wants his quarterback room to be built one of the same. If the Steelers were to bring back Justin Fields on a prove-it deal, then you would have seen the Steelers bring in, I don't know, a guy like a Malik Willis who's available. Maybe Joe Milton is, mobile enough to be in that conversation. You would have seen the Steelers draft a mobile quarterback like a Jalen Milroe maybe. But I think Joe Milton, who is a guy who can move around a little bit and has a big arm, I think you'll see him come to the Steelers. If the Steelers do want to go with that philosophy of building their quarterbacks all one of the same so that the playbook just doesn't change, I think you'll see Joe Milton possibly become a Steeler if Russell Wilson returns. However, if Aaron Rodgers, like what it's looking like he's going to sign with the Steelers right now, if Russell Wilson comes to Pittsburgh, then I think then maybe you put in a big question mark of Joe Milton becoming a Steeler. I put that as a big question mark right now. But, at the end of the day, we'll see what all happens on that front. Up to 17 of you in here right now. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel and feel free to comment in the comment section so I can talk with you fine people like James just did there. Also, you can like and share the stream. Had a big stream last night on the heels of the Steelers apparently signing Darius Slay. That is not a done deal yet. And, really on the heels of the Justin Fields and Sam Darnold signings and the hot rumor mill of when Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers were going to pick a team of where they're going to go. In the meantime, I'm sure a bunch of you in here would love for me to keep talking Steelers. In the meantime, I'm going to hit on the two other professional Pittsburgh sports teams real quick. That is the Pittsburgh Penguins first up. They play the Vegas Golden Knights here in about 20 minutes. That is a home game with a 7:05 puck drop there. And the Penguins, all of a sudden, they're going through some injuries. Looking here earlier today, the Penguins, on emergency basis, recalled forward Matt Nieto, who was put on waivers and sent down to their AHL team, Wilkes-Barre Scranton, just a week ago. And also defenseman Sebastian Aho, not that Sebastian Aho from the Carolina Hurricanes. Trust me, I would kill for Sebastian Aho, that one, to be on the Pittsburgh Penguins. But Matt Nieto and Sebastian Aho, a forward and a defenseman, are back with the team on an emergency basis. And that emergency basis is because Mike Sullivan at the team's morning skate said that recently acquired forward Tommy Novak, who's been playing with Evgeny Malkin on the second line, he's dealing with a day-to-day lower body injury. Defenseman Ryan Shea, who just got a one-year extension a couple of days ago at the deadline, he is out week to week with an upper body injury. And of course, the last one here, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, he remains status quo with an upper body injury. It's kept him out of the lineup for the past 4 games. So assuming that these are the signed, sealed, and delivered lines heading into tonight's game, it's going to be your typical first line of Rickard Rakell, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust. Newly acquired trade deadline acquisition, Connor Dewar. He's going to get a big opportunity with Evgeny Malkin and Philip Tomasino on the second line. Danton Heinen slots back into the lineup on the third line with Kevin Hayes and Emil Bemstrom. And then, of course, you have your normal fourth line of Boko Imama, Blake Lizotte, and Nola Chari. Defensive pairings, a massive opportunity for waiver claim and 23-year-old Vladislav Kolyachonok. He is scheduled or shown here to be on the top pairing with Chris Letang. Matt Grzelcyk, of course, with Erik Karlsson, and with Ryan Shea out, Ryan Graves is back in the lineup with trade deadline acquisition Connor Timmins. So the Pens, in what has been a disastrous year, and honestly, they're tanking out for a top draft pick. This is a lineup that could do it. They're going up against a good Vegas Golden Knights team that they lost to in Vegas last week 4-0, and probably going to be looking at more of that same performance tonight. Honestly, I will probably be wrapping up my stream here, in a couple of minutes, and I'd be more interested in watching Brad Marchand play the Boston Bruins in Boston in his first game as a Panther. And the other team I wanted to talk on real quick is, are the Pittsburgh Pirates actually good again? They played the B squad of the New York Yankees earlier today at 1:00 p.m. It was a Paul Skeens day. Skeens, another, good day at the office for him. I think that this was him. He had a slow start in spring training. I think this was him fully. The rust is all shaken off. He's ready to go and get this season started in Miami here in a little bit. 4 innings pitched, allowed 4 hits, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts, gave up 1 earned run, which was just 1 bad pitch to the Yankees, Trent Grisham, who hit a home run into the right field bleachers. But looking up and down the Bucks lineup from today, it was another good outing for Kyle Nicholas in the bullpen. He now has 6 zeros in terms of innings pitched so far this spring. Colin Holderman had a solid inning. Eddie Yeen, who I believe was a trade acquisition in the Josh Bell trade a while back, he had a good ending to the game, finished the game out. And looking at the Bucks lineup here, O'Neal Cruz, a 3-run homer today. You're really hoping, if the Pittsburgh Pirates, besides the starting pitching rotation being lights out, if the Bucks are going to have any chance of making the postseason this year, they need O'Neal Cruz to live up to his highest potential that we have for him, which is him possibly getting MVP votes. You hope that the move to center field, like I've said in the past, has, taken the distractions and the pressure of being an everyday MLB shortstop away. He can be a natural, athletic 6'7" center fielder, and he can focus more on batting. So hopefully that home run today was, a sight and something that you hope to see more of. Billy Cook, who's had a underwhelming spring training, he hit a home run as well. And a guy who I think that is making a very strong case right now to make the Bucks opening day roster, who, we're waiting for him also to, break out at the MLB level, especially with his bat, is G1 Bay. Bay 2 doubles today, which really, if you go back and watch those hits, they really weren't doubles. It's Bay, and pretty much I'd put a gracious 5% of players in the league are going to turn the hits he had into doubles. They were hustle doubles, showed off his speed. We know that he is, can be a serviceable outfielder, and he's got the wheels to be an absolute demon on the base path and on the base pads. And you just hope that if you can get, him to at least a respectable at bat in the MLB, that he can take off and become a part of this team for the future to come. And also another Pirate I want to hit on real quick, and this absolutely sucks for me to say this, is that we haven't seen Ke'Bryan Hayes in a spring training game for almost a week now. That is because Derek Shelton came out and told the media yesterday that Hayes, of course, we all know about his chronic back issues, is experiencing some, quote, left side tightness. So you hope that this isn't something related to his back, but, you put 2 and 2 together. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. So you hope that it's nothing that is going to keep Hayes out of the lineup. If it is going to keep him out of the lineup, you want him to do it now in spring training, but hopefully this isn't something that is going to linger throughout the year. Some good news additionally to this is that he will be taking some ground balls and some swings tomorrow. So hopefully it's just something minor, not related to his back issues, and is something that he is going to return from in the near future. So with that 8 of you in here right now, if you have any more questions for me, by all means, get them in now. And like James here, what about a trade for Joe Milton? I would do it. Not sure about the price, but we'll have to wait and see. Nothing to lose, everything to gain addition if you take Joe Milton there. So before I hop off here for the night, if you guys feel free to put any questions for me in the comment section, I'd be happy to answer them. Let's take a quick stroll on Twitter here in the meantime. Look and see what else is going on. More news, more people reporting that Mason Rudolph garnering interest from the Steelers. Interesting. Jeff Passan of ESPN MLB Insider, a Major League Baseball trade deadline date has been set. It is July 31st at 6 p.m. So trade deadline falling on a Thursday in the MLB. Surely by then that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to, add a big bat, especially if they're in the playoff race. Surely they're not going to go down the road of adding Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Brian De La Cruz and all that. Another interesting tidbit surrounding the Pirates here. Pirates made their second round of spring training cuts Of course, they've already cut guys, young kids like Bubba Chandler and Connor Griffin, kids who are nowhere near close to competing for an MLB roster spot quite yet. They are going to start out most likely in single and double A. This round of cuts here, some interesting names. Braxton Ashcraft, of course, a young Pirates pitcher and prospect. He will probably be making a cameo appearance at some point in the major leagues this year, but he will not start out with the main team. Mike Burrows, another Pirate starting pitcher candidate like Ashcraft, who, had Tommy John surgery a couple of years ago. He's going to need to build himself back up some more in the minor leagues. Right-handed pitcher Chase Shugart, don't really care. Had a good outing today, I think, but was a waiver claim or a trade for, cash considerations, future considerations, whatever the hell the Bucks gave up for him. Infielder Liover Peguero will not be in the MLB, will not start in the MLB again this year. I mean, for once being, a guy who, looked like he could possibly be the Bucks solution at either of the two middle infield spots, he's struggling to even grab a spot on the big league roster right now. Infielder Sung-Chae Cheng also got cut. No surprise there. He's going to start out probably in AAA. Sure, there's still a bright future for him. And the last cut, infielder, outfielder, Emmanuel Valdez had a pretty decent spring training in my eyes, but he's going to be one of those guys that, we just talked about Key Brian Hayes. Should Hayes not be able to be fully healthy or, make regular appearances, if this left side tightness issue is going to be an issue, then you might see Emmanuel Valdez come back up as a utility man in the middle infield. Actually, there's a couple more cuts here. These are some names that you also expected to get cut and sent down. Right-handed pitcher Isaac Matson, right-handed pitcher Ryder Ryan, right-handed pitcher Eddie Yeen, who just pitched today. Two catchers, Aaron McKeithen, Omar Alfonso, and infielder Malcolm Nunez. So, no shocks there of players getting cut. Sorry, my voice is getting a little scuzzy here because been sick the past couple of days. I apologize. But with that, I'm going to go turn on the Pens game, get, emotionally invested and watch them suck. But always remember there's a rainbow on the other side and what is hopefully a top 5 draft pick. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here tonight. Of course, I could always be back on if an Aaron Rodgers deal does get done, or if some other massive move for one of the Pittsburgh professional sports teams goes on. But until then, thank you all for joining me here today. I think we topped out at 17 viewers. Let me see here. Do we gain any? Up to 302. So we did gain one new subscriber. Thank you to whoever that was. I cannot see who that was that subscribed. If it's James who popped in the comment section, I appreciate it, James, my man. But until then, thank you all for joining me here tonight. I appreciate it very much. And I will see you guys back here around the same time tomorrow with some more Pittsburgh sports news. Thank you. Peace out. Good night, everybody.